Part 1, Inner Peace and Self-Mastery. Rule 1, Control what you can, accept what you cannot. The foundation of Stoicism lies in this principle. Epictetus once taught, some things are in our control, and others not. This is not just philosophy, it is liberation. Most of our suffering comes from trying to bend reality to our will. When we demand that people act as we wish, when we expect life to go smoothly, when we resist what is inevitable, frustration is born. Think of a sailor, he cannot control the wind or the waves, but he can control his sail. Likewise, we cannot control fate, but we can master our actions and choices. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily while facing wars, plagues, and betrayals. He wrote to himself in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Modern life throws countless uncontrollable things at us: traffic, rude people, sudden setbacks. The Stoic rule is simple: pause, ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, act wisely. If not, release it. Peace is found in surrendering to reality, not wrestling with it. Rule 2, detach from outcomes, focus on actions. Seneca advised, fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. We can give our best effort, but the result belongs to destiny. A Stoic does not pin happiness on success or despair on failure, both are outside his control. Imagine a student preparing for an exam. His role is to study diligently, but whether he passes depends on many things beyond his grasp. By focusing on preparation, not the grade, he finds peace. In our time, many suffer because they seek likes, promotions, and recognition. Stoicism says, effort is yours, results are not. Epictetus compared life to playing dice. You cannot control the number rolled, but you can control how you play your turn. By detaching from outcomes, you build resilience, a calm heart that no disappointment can shatter. Rule 3, silence is strength. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak." Stoics valued silence not as weakness, but as power. Words often create unnecessary battles. Gossip, complaints, and impulsive speech fuel chaos. Marcus Aurelius advised himself to be like a rock when insulted, unmoved, silent, and calm. When you respond less, you control more. In today's noisy world, silence is revolutionary. At work, silence makes you wise. In arguments, silence disarms. In meditation, silence reveals clarity. Try 1 day of controlled speech. You will discover that the less you speak, the more weight your words carry. Rule 4, discipline is freedom. At first, discipline feels like restriction. But Musonius Rufus, often called the Roman Socrates, taught that discipline is the road to true freedom. He believed that those who cannot govern themselves are slaves not to masters, but to desires. Think of someone addicted to social media. He believes he is free because he can scroll whenever he wants, yet in truth, he is chained to impulses. A Stoic sees that self-control is not loss of freedom, but the highest form of it. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, lived a disciplined life despite having power to indulge in everything. He rose early, studied philosophy, practiced moderation, and worked tirelessly for the empire. His life proves, discipline is not punishment, it is power. Rule 5, train your mind daily. Just as athletes train their bodies, Stoics train their minds. Epictetus compared philosophy to a gymnasium, a place to exercise the soul. A strong body without a strong mind is vulnerable. Seneca advised his friend Lucilius to spend time each day reflecting, reading, and journaling. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations itself was his training journal, never meant for others, but for self-correction. In modern life, mental training means reading deeply, journaling daily, questioning assumptions, and meditating. Each day, feed your mind wisdom rather than noise. A trained mind is a fortress unshaken by insults, loss, or chaos. Rule 6, embrace simplicity. Epictetus lived with almost nothing: a cloak, a lamp, and his thoughts. Seneca, though wealthy, practiced living with little so he would never fear poverty. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor, slept on simple beds when he could. Simplicity is not poverty, but freedom from excess. Today, people drown in possessions yet starve for peace. A Stoic embraces simplicity in food, clothing, and living because he knows joy is born from sufficiency, not abundance. Try eating a plain meal once a week, wearing simple clothes, or spending a day without screens. You will find simplicity is not lack, but abundance of peace. Rule 7, practice negative visualization. A unique Stoic exercise: imagine losing what you love. Seneca recommended beginning the day thinking, "Today I may meet ingratitude, sickness, or death." Not to be gloomy, but to awaken gratitude. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people he loved could be gone tomorrow. This sharpened his love and reduced attachment to illusions. In modern life, we avoid thinking about loss. Yet when you imagine it, you suddenly cherish the present. Hug your loved ones tighter, enjoy your health, and treasure each sunrise because you've reminded yourself that nothing is guaranteed. Rule 8, do not be a slave to desire. Desire is endless. Epictetus warned, freedom is not achieved by satisfying desires, but by eliminating them. Every desire fulfilled breeds another, making you restless. Marcus Aurelius had everything an emperor could want, yet he cautioned himself not to be corrupted by luxury. True strength lies in moderation. Musonius Rufus encouraged eating to live, not living to eat. In modern society, advertising thrives on making you desire endlessly the latest phone, fashion, or car. The Stoic antidote: need less. Train yourself to be content with what you already have. The fewer desires you carry, the freer you walk. Rule 9, time is your most precious asset. Seneca, in On the Shortness of Life, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Time, not money, is the true wealth. People spend their lives chasing possessions, yet forget that time cannot be bought. Marcus Aurelius scolded himself whenever he wasted hours, reminding himself that death was always near. Today, time is stolen by screens, endless scrolling, shallow conversations. A Stoic invests time in meaningful work, loved ones, learning, and reflection. Guard your hours fiercely, for they are your life itself. Rule 10, your mind is your kingdom. The Stoics believed the mind is the only true kingdom. Marcus Aurelius faced enemies, wars, and betrayal, yet he wrote, "The mind adapts and turns obstacles into fuel." His empire could crumble, but his mind was invincible. Your thoughts shape your life. A person who constantly feeds his mind with fear, anger, or comparison becomes a prisoner. A Stoic, however, tends to his thoughts like a gardener, planting seeds of wisdom and pulling weeds of negativity. In modern life, protecting your mind means controlling what you consume: the news, social media, conversations. Guard it carefully, for your mind is the throne upon which your entire life rests. Part 2, Relationships and Society. Rule 11, respect others' journeys. Epictetus said, "Remember that every person acts according to their own understanding." People are not intentionally evil, they act out of ignorance, pain, or desire. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, arrogance, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. All of them are ignorant of what is good or evil." To respect others' journeys means recognizing they walk a path shaped by experiences you cannot see. A rude colleague may be carrying grief. An angry driver may be fighting silent battles. Instead of judging, cultivate compassion. Modern Stoicism asks you to pause before reacting. What unseen burden might this person carry? This mindset transforms frustration into patience, and enemies into teachers. Rule 12, respond, don't react. Seneca taught that anger is a kind of madness. Reacting impulsively gives power to others. Responding wisely keeps power with you. Marcus Aurelius endured betrayal and constant criticism as emperor, yet he rarely retaliated with cruelty. His strength lay in calm responses, a refusal to let others drag him into their chaos. Today, social media fuels instant reactions. A Stoic resists this urge. Before replying to a harsh comment, pause, breathe, and ask, will this matter tomorrow? By choosing response over reaction, you reclaim mastery over your emotions. Rule 13, do good without expecting thanks. A Stoic acts out of virtue, not applause. Marcus Aurelius compared kindness to a vine producing grapes it gives naturally, without demand for reward. Seneca reminded us that doing good for recognition corrupts the very act. To help someone secretly is the highest form of generosity. In today's world, many perform kindness for attention, posting every good deed online. A Stoic helps quietly, expecting nothing in return. True happiness comes not from applause, but from knowing you have lived in harmony with virtue. Rule 14, value friendship over favors. Epicurus, though not a Stoic, said wisely, of all the things which wisdom provides to make us entirely happy, much the greatest is friendship. The Stoics agreed, but with a condition: friendship must be based on virtue, not utility. Seneca wrote that true friends are rare because most relationships are transactional. We call people friends because they help us, flatter us, or entertain us. A Stoic seeks deeper bonds, friendships built on honesty, loyalty, and shared pursuit of wisdom. Ask yourself, if all benefits were removed, would this person still stand with me? A Stoic values those who love him for who he is, not for what he provides. Rule 15, lead by example, not by words. The Stoics believed character speaks louder than speech. Epictetus told his students, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Marcus Aurelius ruled not through arrogance, but through example. He endured hardship with humility, worked tirelessly, and placed duty above comfort. Soldiers followed him because he lived what he preached. In modern life, whether as a parent, teacher, manager, or friend, your actions shape others far more than your words. A Stoic leads not by demanding respect, but by earning it through consistency, integrity, and courage. Rule 16, forgive quickly, forget slowly. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to forgive those who wronged him, reminding himself, they act out of ignorance, not malice. Forgiveness is not weakness, but wisdom. Holding anger harms you more than them. Yet forgetting slowly means remembering the lesson. Seneca advised that trust, once broken, should be granted carefully. A Stoic forgives with heart, but learns with mind. In today's world, bitterness is common. Many carry grudges for years. But a Stoic sees that life is too short to poison the soul with resentment. Forgive quickly, move forward, but never repeat old mistakes blindly. Rule 17, do not envy anyone. Envy is slavery. Seneca wrote, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." We envy others because we imagine their lives are easier or happier. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that wealth, fame, and beauty are temporary. The one envied today will be dust tomorrow. A Stoic instead admires virtue, courage, wisdom, integrity, qualities within everyone's reach. In the age of Instagram, envy is epidemic. A Stoic resists this poison by practicing gratitude for what he has and reminding himself that external success never guarantees inner peace. Rule 18, cherish honest critics. Flattery blinds, but criticism sharpens. Epictetus valued those who corrected him, saying they were true friends. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to listen to reason, even if it came from a slave or enemy. A Stoic does not reject criticism with pride, but welcomes it with curiosity. What truth lies in this? Even an insult may reveal a flaw worth improving. Today, most people silence critics and embrace only praise. But a Stoic treasures the rare critic who speaks truth. For in their words lies the opportunity to grow stronger and wiser. Rule 19, never argue with a fool. Seneca warned that arguing with fools wastes precious energy. Marcus Aurelius wrote that debating with unreasonable people drags you into their madness. A Stoic understands that not every battle deserves attention. To argue with one who refuses reason is to surrender peace. Silence, dignity, or walking away often defeats folly more powerfully than words. In modern life, online arguments prove this rule perfectly. Hours are wasted battling strangers in comment sections. A Stoic saves his energy for what matters: truth, virtue, and personal growth. Rule 20, live for the common good. Stoicism teaches that we are citizens of the world, part of a greater whole. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Seneca believed virtue cannot exist in isolation. A Stoic acts not only for himself, but for family, community, and humanity. Even small acts, mentoring a student, helping a neighbor, or supporting a just cause, strengthen the common good. In our age of individualism, Stoicism reminds us that fulfillment comes from service. You are not an isolated being, but a thread in the fabric of humanity. To live for others is to live fully. Part 3, Strength and Resilience. Rule 21, love your fate. The phrase amor fati, love of fate, captures the heart of Stoic resilience. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to not just accept, but to embrace whatever life brings, good or bad. Epictetus said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do." To love fate is to welcome each event as necessary to your growth. Imagine losing a job. The Stoic response is not despair, but opportunity. A new path is opening. This mindset turns pain into teacher, loss into wisdom, and failure into freedom. In modern times, many curse circumstances. A Stoic whispers instead, "This too is mine. This is the path fate chose for me." By loving fate, you cannot be broken, for every blow becomes a blessing. Rule 22, turn pain into power. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave." Hardship is not punishment, but training. Pain is the weight by which we build spiritual muscle. Marcus Aurelius, ruling Rome during plagues and wars, constantly reframed his struggles as chances to practice patience and courage. Epictetus, a former slave who suffered a broken leg, declared that misfortune cannot harm the soul, only your response can. In modern life, pain often feels unfair. Yet a Stoic sees it as raw material. A failed relationship can teach patience. Financial struggle builds discipline. Illness awakens gratitude for health. With this perspective, every wound becomes a weapon of strength. Rule 23, endure voluntarily. Musonius Rufus taught his students to practice voluntary discomfort fasting, wearing rough clothes, or sleeping on hard beds. Why? To prove that comfort is not necessary for happiness, and to train the soul for hardship. Seneca practiced eating plain bread and drinking water for days, reminding himself that if poverty came, he could endure it. Marcus Aurelius endured harsh military camps without luxury, though he was emperor. In our age of comfort, even small inconveniences feel unbearable. A Stoic deliberately embraces some discomfort: cold showers, fasting, exercise, long walks. By choosing hardship in small doses, you prepare your spirit for life's unavoidable storms. Rule 24, detach from material wealth. Epictetus reminded his students, "You are not your possessions." A Stoic does not despise wealth, but does not cling to it either. Marcus Aurelius lived in palaces, yet he constantly reminded himself that gold, marble, and purple robes meant nothing to the soul. Seneca, though one of the wealthiest men in Rome, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Wealth enslaves when it defines identity. Today, many define worth by cars, houses, or social media followers. A Stoic knows, riches can vanish overnight, but virtue remains. True wealth is self-control, wisdom, and freedom from greed. Rule 25, do not fear death. To a Stoic, death is not tragedy but nature. Marcus Aurelius reflected often, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Seneca called death the ultimate deadline, urging us to live fully before it arrives. Epictetus taught that fearing death is irrational. It is the one certainty in life. To fear it is to waste the present. In modern society, we avoid talking about death, yet live in quiet dread of it. A Stoic meditates on mortality, memento mori, not to be dark, but to awaken urgency. Knowing life is short makes each day precious, each act meaningful. Rule 26, the obstacle is the way. Ryan Holiday popularized this Stoic truth, but it originates in Marcus Aurelius: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. For Stoics, obstacles are not barriers but guides. Seneca noted that a wise sailor does not curse the wind, he adjusts his sails. Each challenge is raw material for growth. Lose a job, learn new skills. Face illness, cultivate patience and gratitude. Meet betrayal, strengthen resilience. In every difficulty, a Stoic asks, how can this serve me? By transforming obstacles into opportunities, you turn life's enemies into allies. Rule 27, never complain, never blame. Epictetus was blunt, complaining is weakness. When we complain, we waste energy on what we cannot change. When we blame others, we surrender responsibility for our own lives. Marcus Aurelius, facing political turmoil, rarely wrote complaints. Instead, he wrote solutions, reflections, and reminders of perspective. In modern life, many spend hours complaining about weather, politics, jobs, or people. A Stoic takes ownership. Instead of saying "this ruined my day," he says, "How can I adapt?" Refusing to complain makes you rare, and refusing to blame makes you powerful. Rule 28, courage is the highest virtue. Seneca declared, "No man is brave who is afraid of pain." Courage was central to Stoicism because without it, no other virtue survives. Honesty, justice, and self-control all require courage to act. Marcus Aurelius faced endless threats but endured them with calm bravery. Epictetus taught that courage is not absence of fear, but mastery over it. In modern life, courage means speaking truth at risk of rejection, pursuing purpose over comfort, and standing firm in adversity. A Stoic does not avoid fear, he walks through it, knowing it is the price of virtue. Rule 29, adapt like water. Stoicism values resilience, and resilience is flexibility. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." The wise man adapts. Marcus Aurelius admired nature's adaptability. Rivers flow around rocks, plants grow in harsh soil. He urged himself to imitate them. In today's rapidly changing world, shifting economies, technologies, and relationships, adaptability is survival. Rigidity breaks under pressure, but water flows around obstacles. A Stoic bends without breaking, adapts without losing principles, and survives where others collapse. Rule 30, turn setbacks into comebacks. Stoicism teaches that failure is never final. Seneca reminded us, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Marcus Aurelius suffered repeated defeats in wars, but used each one to refine strategies. Epictetus lost his freedom as a slave, yet became one of the most influential philosophers in history. Today, setbacks are often seen as the end of the road. A Stoic reframes them as beginnings. Losing a job can spark entrepreneurship. Rejection can fuel self-improvement. Illness can deepen spiritual strength. Each setback, when faced with Stoic courage, becomes a stage for a greater comeback. Part 4, Wisdom and Perspective. Rule 31, live according to nature. The Stoics often repeated, live in agreement with nature. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught that virtue means aligning ourselves with the rational order of the universe. Marcus Aurelius echoed this, reminding himself that whatever happens in life is natural, and therefore acceptable. Living according to nature means two things: first, living with reason, since reason is humanity's gift, and second, accepting the cycles of life: birth, growth, decay, death. In modern life, this rule calls us to simplicity, sustainability, and acceptance. Rather than fighting the seasons of life, a Stoic flows with them. By aligning with nature, both inner and outer, peace is found. Rule 32, distinguish between needs and wants. Seneca once asked, "What is it to be rich?" "It is to want nothing." The Stoics knew that misery often comes not from lack, but from endless wanting. Epictetus reminded his students to examine every desire: will this bring me peace, or slavery? Food, shelter, and friendship are true needs. Expensive luxuries, constant entertainment, and social approval are wants: endless, fleeting, and exhausting. Modern consumerism thrives on blurring this line. Ads tell us wants are needs. But a Stoic draws the boundary clearly: satisfy needs modestly, reduce wants ruthlessly. In this lies true abundance. Rule 33, pursue excellence, not perfection. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to do what is right, not perfectly, but sincerely. The Stoics were realists. They knew humans are flawed. To demand perfection leads to frustration. But to strive for excellence in small, daily actions leads to growth. Seneca encouraged progress, not flawless achievement. Each day, a little better, kinder, calmer, wiser. Today, perfectionism is a curse. It paralyzes action, breeds anxiety, and kills creativity. A Stoic chooses instead the path of excellence, consistent effort, steady improvement, humble mastery. Rule 34, see the world as temporary. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that all empires, all monuments, all men, even Alexander the Great, eventually turn to dust. This meditation on impermanence frees us from arrogance and attachment. Why cling to possessions or fame, when time will erase them all? Seneca compared life to a play. The length matters less than how well you perform your role. Modern life often clings to permanence, eternal youth, lasting wealth, permanent success. A Stoic remembers, everything changes. By accepting transience, one learns to enjoy each moment without fear of losing it. Rule 35, learn from everyone. Epictetus told his students that wisdom could be found even in a child or a fool if you observe carefully. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to learn from every teacher, friend, or critic he encountered. Seneca said he borrowed wisdom like a bee collects nectar from many flowers, creating his own honey. In modern life, we often dismiss people outside our circle. A Stoic remains humble enough to learn from a janitor, a stranger, or even an enemy. Wisdom hides everywhere, in mistakes, in criticism, in silence. Rule 36, use logic over emotion. The Stoics did not despise emotions, but they refused to be ruled by them. Epictetus taught that events themselves do not disturb us, our judgments about them do. Marcus Aurelius practiced this by asking himself, does this deserve my anger? Will this matter in a year? Logic is the sword that cuts through emotional fog. Today, emotional storms dominate social media, relationships, and politics. A Stoic pauses, questions feelings, and acts from reason. To master your judgment is to master your destiny. Rule 37, stay humble in success. Seneca warned, fortune can take back what she gave. Marcus Aurelius, though emperor of Rome, constantly reminded himself that he was mortal, no different from slaves or peasants in death. Pride blinds, but humility protects. A Stoic never lets success inflate him, for he knows fate is fickle. True greatness lies in humility, not arrogance. In modern times, achievements often breed vanity. But the Stoic celebrates success quietly, giving credit to fate, fortune, and effort, never pretending it was his alone. Rule 38, practice gratitude daily. Seneca advised keeping a list of blessings, for gratitude magnifies joy. Marcus Aurelius, each morning, thank the gods for another day to live in harmony with virtue. Gratitude is not passive, it transforms perspective. A Stoic thanks life for difficulties as well as blessings, for both train the soul. In our world, people chase happiness endlessly, forgetting to notice the gifts they already have: health, family, breath, sunlight. Gratitude turns ordinary days into miracles. Rule 39, never stop learning. Epictetus insisted that philosophy was a lifelong study. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor, considered himself still a student. Seneca reminded Lucilius, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. The Stoic is always humble enough to admit ignorance. For him, every day is a classroom. In modern life, where trends come and go, continuous learning is vital. Read, reflect, listen. Each lesson adds armor to your spirit. A mind that stops learning begins to decay, a Stoic keeps it alive. Rule 40, think globally, act locally. The Stoics introduced the idea of cosmopolitanism, that we are citizens not of one city, but of the world. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he was part of a greater whole, like a hand is part of a body. Yet Stoics also valued local duty, serving family, friends, and neighbors. Seneca balanced philosophical reflection with practical advice for daily life. Today, this means caring for the planet, humanity, and justice, but also nurturing your immediate relationships. A Stoic remembers, you belong to the world, but your actions begin at home. Part 5, Daily Living and Joy. Rule 41, Begin the day with clarity. Marcus Aurelius began each morning reminding himself, "Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant." By preparing mentally, he prevented frustration and chose patience. The Stoic morning ritual sets intention. Recall that life is short. Expect challenges. Resolve to meet them with virtue. In our rushed age, mornings often begin with phones, noise, and distraction. A Stoic pauses instead, even a single deep breath, a short journal note, or a silent reflection. A calm morning plants a calm day. Rule 42, End the day with reflection. Seneca advised nightly self-examination, when the light has been removed. I review my whole day, and measure my words and deeds. The Stoic night practice asks 3 questions. 1. What did I do well? 2. What could I have done better? 3. What will I try again tomorrow? Reflection cleanses the soul of regrets and anchors learning. Today, this can be journaling, prayer, or silent thought before sleep. End the day with wisdom, and sleep comes peacefully. Rule 43, Practice moderation in all things. Zeno and Cleanthes warned against excess. Epictetus reminded, if you drink, do not drink to drunkenness. If you eat, do not eat to gluttony. The Stoics were not ascetics, they allowed pleasure, but in moderation. Pleasure must serve health, not enslave it. In modern life, excess rules overeating, overspending, overworking. A Stoic balances, food with temperance, wealth with generosity, leisure with purpose. The middle path is freedom. Rule 44, Choose friends wisely. Seneca wrote, associate with those who will make you better, and welcome those you can improve. Friends shape destiny. A Stoic seeks companions who value virtue, not vanity. Marcus Aurelius kept company with mentors who sharpened his soul. In today's digital world, shallow connections abound. A Stoic chooses quality over quantity, fewer friends, but deeper bonds. Friendship built on virtue lasts, friendship built on convenience dissolves. Rule 45, Serve something greater than yourself. Marcus Aurelius saw himself as a servant of Rome, not its master. Epictetus taught that we are all parts of a greater whole, like limbs of a body. Life is richer when devoted to more than personal gain: family, community, justice, humanity. A Stoic asks daily, how can I serve the greater good? In modern times, selfish ambition dominates. But a Stoic finds deeper joy in service: mentoring, volunteering, uplifting others. To serve is to transcend the small self. Rule 46, Use time as your most precious resource. Seneca's essay on the shortness of life remains timeless. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. We guard money jealously but squander time freely. Yet time is the only currency we cannot replace. A Stoic treats time like gold, avoiding trivial gossip, useless anger, and shallow pursuits. Instead, he invests in learning, creating, loving, and living. Rule 47, Master the art of silence. Epictetus warned, be mostly silent, or speak only what is necessary. Marcus Aurelius practiced restraint, writing thoughts for himself, not for applause. Silence sharpens observation. Silence prevents regret. Silence reveals truth. In our noisy world of constant chatter, silence is rare. The Stoic learns to pause before speaking, to listen deeply, to let wisdom grow in stillness. Rule 48, Walk lightly on earth. The Stoics lived simply. Musonius Rufus, the Roman Socrates, encouraged plain food, simple clothing, and modest living. Simplicity frees the soul from clutter. A Stoic does not need luxury to be happy. Walking lightly means consuming responsibly, treating the earth kindly, leaving behind as little harm as possible. In modern times, minimalism echoes this Stoic value. True wealth is not owning more, but needing less. Rule 49, celebrate small joys. Marcus Aurelius noticed the beauty in bread cracking as it baked, or figs ripening. The Stoic eye finds wonder in ordinary things. Seneca urged his friend Lucilius to enjoy simple meals, walks, and conversations, the humble pleasures that never fail. Today, joy is often chased in big achievements. But a Stoic knows joy hides in the present moment, a sunrise, laughter, kindness, even breath itself. Celebrate little things, and life becomes a festival. Rule 50, live as if today were your last. Epictetus said, "You may leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Memento mori, remember death, is the Stoic's final teacher. Far from depressing, it awakens urgency, gratitude, and presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." To live as if today were the last means no wasted words, no delayed kindness, no postponed dreams. Life becomes lighter, sharper, truer. Conclusion, the Stoic path to joy. The 50 Stoic rules for life are not abstract theories, but practical tools to steady the mind, strengthen the heart, and free the soul. From Part I, Inner Discipline, to Part II, Resilience, to Part III, Virtue, to Part IV, Wisdom, and finally Part V, Daily Joy, the Stoics offer a complete philosophy of living. Zeno began the school in Athens. Seneca gave it elegance. Epictetus gave it resilience. Marcus Aurelius gave it power. But their message is one: you control your mind, not the world, and in mastering yourself, you master life. So live with discipline. Accept with courage. Act with virtue. Learn with humility. And rejoice with gratitude. In the end, the Stoic does not escape life, he embraces it fully, calmly, joyfully. To be calm is the highest achievement of the self. Zen proverb echoing Stoic truth.